Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for staying. I know it's been a long day, and like everybody else, I'm going to claim that I'm going to stick to the timeline. Whether I do or not, I hope I do. He'll help me out. Thank you, thank you. It's cloud, 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 cloud. Everybody's talking cloud. Is it cloudy outside today? I think it is. So even the weather is cloudy. DELL has an organization called the Global IT Consulting Services, which I'm part of. So I'm not in products. I'm not trying to sell any type of product or anything like that. And basically, the demands on IT are fairly consistent. You're still seeing the similar demands on IT. What are these demands? We see demands on cost control. We see competitive pressure. They want to have more for less. They can't tolerate downtime. They want more availability. They want more automation. They want more for less cost. And IT has to react to this, become more proactive. They have to manage the technologies that they're faced with, the vendors throwing different products and solutions, all claiming they have the best stack or the best of breed or something like that. And you have to deal with the service management, a very vast issue. Operational support, legal, SLAs, compliances. Compliances may stop you completely from going to the cloud. Talk to the financial industry. So there's a lot of issues, and security. Security is a huge issue. And there's no time to discuss it in 10 minutes, but it's been mentioned many times. We all heard about the Amazon outage and the Sony network outage for the PlayStation. So 77 million people were affected. If you or your family or your kids use that, consulting experts are saying cancel your credit card now because you've been exposed. So there's a lot of challenges being faced. And because of all of this confusion, there's a lot of hype and myth around the cloud. Gartner just about a year ago said cloud is the #1 hyped technology. And they said it's also the #1 important technology. So what do we do? It's confusing. Is there a single cloud? My esteemed colleagues have said some very good statements and content. But you know, they all take it from one perspective. One guy was talking about cloud from a public point of view. One guy was talking about cloud from a private, another from a hybrid, and the messaging gets kind of mixed up. And people think, you know, you get a credit card, you can just go ahead and buy some cloud service. It's not that easy. And people think if you have virtualization, I'm doing cloud. Not at all. Somebody just said virtualization has no business sense. I don't understand why they would even say that. It consolidates, it reduces cost, it improves efficiency and utilization. These are all business values. So cloud computing is not about technology. And I was actually surprised, some colleagues earlier on said, oh, it's the first time I've heard a company say it's not about technology. No, all the companies are saying this. I'm not recreating the wheel. Everybody is saying this. Cloud is not about technology. It's more about making IT more efficient and more responsive to the business needs. So if we take a quick cloud taxonomy, this is not a dictionary definition, it's just a quick definition. So there are certain characteristics that we want out of the cloud. We want self-service, we want elasticity, we want automation, we want consumption or utility-based model, we want resource pooling, we want reduced CapEx, reduced OpEx, we want to have standardization and automation. These are going to be offered as a service. There are different types of services: infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service, storage as a service, security as a service, business processes as a service, testing as a service, so on and so forth. And then these are delivered in different deployment models, as you're familiar with by now. Everybody's mentioned these today multiple times: private, hybrid, public, or community. And community is really a made-up term. So what's happening today? We have the traditional model where people have their traditional data centers running their traditional back-end application systems, ERPs, their Oracle and PeopleSoft and SAP and other things. And they've started to move towards a virtualized environment. And they're going to start to adopt private cloud and eventually public cloud. So we're moving in this evolutionary way towards private and public cloud. Some companies are taking the revolutionary way and jumping into the public cloud, immediately. So why should I care? You have to ask yourself some questions. What do I need to do with my capital expenditures, with my operational expenditures? What do I need to do with my siloed IT operations? Nobody talked about integrating your services properly into an integrated services operation center. How do you automate and ensure flexibility? How do you ensure multi-tenancy and accountability and accounting services? If you talk to the service providers, they've been doing this for a long time. They just didn't call it cloud. They called it other things, other types of value-added services. So what do I do with my existing hardware? If you listen to some vendors, they'll say, well, you've got to replace, rip and replace. I wouldn't recommend that. How do I handle all the investments I've already made in the people and the processes, and how will these be impacted? Even some cloud software vendors will say, you have to take our software and implement our processes as we say fit. Well, I already have an organization with processes. Why should I change that? You have to demand what you need. There's lots of choices out there. You're going to be overwhelmed with choices and solutions, and I'm the best, and I have the full stack, and I have the best of breed. You have to carefully evaluate these. There's lots of issues. There are many paths to the cloud. Okay? There's not just one path, not just one vision. However, there's a consistent approach you should take when considering the cloud. You have to ensure that you start with a proper workshop and discussion with your solution providers. You have to conduct a full assessment of your current infrastructural readiness and operational readiness and business readiness and application readiness, enterprise architecture, TOGAF, but extended to include the operations and to include the services and financial model. And then you have to design and deploy. It's a journey. You've heard that mentioned before. You have to take this journey step by step in order to reach the finish line and achieve success. It's not a jump to the end type of situation. So you have to do a business analysis and a technology analysis, not just a bottom-up approach. It's not just a top-down approach. You have to do both of them to ensure there's proper alignment. I know the word is abused, but you have to align the technology and the business in the right way. You have to look at the applications, the data, your infrastructure, your technology, your operations in detail. You can then start to prioritize your objectives and your initiatives, and you can start to assess and benchmark the maturity and readiness of your organization from all of these different layers with respect to the cloud. You'll do your target state, your cloud roadmap, through a gap analysis, and you'll do a return on investment and total cost of ownership. So they were saying, calculate moving to the cloud. Is it really going to be financially feasible for you? In some cases, moving to the cloud doesn't really make financial sense all the time. Unless there's sufficient economies of scale, it's not going to be sufficiently suitable. And you've heard that mentioned already. Then a proper migration plan should be done, and the deployment and management of your cloud setup should be addressed properly. So keep in mind, when you take your path to the cloud, you should avoid rip and replace of your infrastructure. You've made major investments in your infrastructure, in your peoples, in your processes, in your applications. You shouldn't have to throw those away just because the vendor tells you to. You have to have support for your heterogeneous environment. You should support a technology-neutral based architecture as much as possible so that you have the ability to expand and be flexible. And there are various other tenets that you should follow. I'm not going to go into them all. So again, as I mentioned, the top-down and bottom-up approach. In the end, you have to bring it all together. By looking at the streams of your infrastructure, your operations, and your applications and your data, you have to carefully take the steps of understanding your objectives, defining the KPIs you want to try and achieve, measuring where you are, technically, operationally, application-wise, and what can move into the cloud, what can't move into the cloud, what business processes can be shifted into the right applications, and which portions of those applications can be shifted to the cloud themselves, whether public or private, or maybe not at all. And then build that to a target state, and define the steps in the gap that will help you do that with the associated return on investment and total cost of ownership. In the end, you'll have a blueprint, a roadmap, I'm sorry it's so small, that will show you specifically how you can quickly, pragmatically, and realistically move to the cloud in a measurable way, with KPIs showing you exactly what you should be trying to achieve. So basically, I'm going to stop it there. I know I'm from Dell. Dell is a product vendor. We have learned a lot by being a product vendor as well. Because Dell has sold so much into cloud providers, we have learned from them and gained the experience by working with them as to what constitutes success in deploying clouds, whether privately, publicly, or hybrid. Did I keep myself in time? Thank you very much, gentlemen.